Hello and welcome to Stylich Chats with Creatives. Today on the podcast, I've got Ben Taylor, who is an editor and operations manager for a YouTuber. Hello, Ben.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Not too bad. That's quite tired, but I'm always tired, so it's fine.
Well, that's life with a toddler, right?
Very much so. Very much so.
We were just chatting then before we recorded, saying how long we think we've known each other, and we think it's nearly 20 years.
Scarily, yes. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Time flies. I was saying to you that I'd realised another of my friends, I'd known them for 13 years. It honestly feels maybe 5. I just don't know where it's gone. It's scary.
Yeah, it's going so fast. I feel like my 30s have just like flying past. I'm just like, what?
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah, like what's going on? I'll just fill the listeners in a little bit. We think we met when your band was doing a gig at my secondary school.
Yep.
And then we also picked up again when your graphic design came into use when I went freelance, and you did a website for me, logo design, all that kind of bits. And then you did my dad's website.
I did, yeah.
Yeah. And then you were on board to do another company's website as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've known each other for a long time, really.
I think I did the first Stylich logo I did.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
I've only just switched that out, maybe.
Well, I'm heartbroken now.
Oh, sorry, mate. Sorry.
It's fine.
Should have notified you. Yeah, I think I've only just switched it out maybe like 3 months ago.
Oh, cool. The new one doesn't look as good, so it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm not going to lie, I made it on Canva.
Look right.
Oh, dear. So your job now, because you were a graphic designer.
I was.
And your job now, you're editing and operations manager for a YouTuber, like I said.
Yeah.
But like, how did you get into YouTube and kind of that way of work? Because I feel like YouTube, we watch a lot of YouTube in this house, and I don't feel like I fully appreciate how much work there is in.
Yeah, like people always find it amazing when YouTubers have editors. They're like, what, they don't do it themselves? Like, no. When you get to a certain level, you don't. You just don't have time.
Yeah.
Especially I work with a gaming YouTuber. So gaming YouTubers upload a lot more content. Like for years, we were doing 2 videos a day, every single day. So it was quite the grind. But yeah, to answer your question, I was a graphic designer and web designer for a few years for myself, and I'd always had a massive interest in YouTube. I wanted to become a big YouTuber myself, which is funny because the guy I work with, he's said in the past, the best employees for YouTubers are failed YouTubers.
Oh, really?
Because they love the industry. And they're passionate about it, and I think you sometimes get to a point where you realize, like, okay, I'm not going to be the successful YouTuber, but I can support them and help them make, and then I joined my guy when I think he had 1 million subscribers at the time, and now we're over 10 million subscribers. I've helped him build it, and so it feels awesome to be part of that. And but yeah, I digress. Going back, so I really wanted to be in YouTube, and so I was trying to make contacts and stuff. It was like I had my own vlog channel. Yeah, it was doing its thing, but then eventually I watched these 3 guys who recorded together on YouTube, and I just enjoyed watching them. And one of them tweeted out, "Oh, someone's designed me a new end card for my videos. What do you guys think?" And I was a bit younger and I was a bit cheekier, and I thought, I tweeted back and said, "Oh, I think I could do better than that," because I was a graphic designer at the time. And he replied and was like, "Oh, do you want to give it a go?" And I was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe he's replying to me." I was like, yeah, for sure, I'll give it a go. So I did him a better one. And he was like, "Do you mind if I use it?" I said, "Not at all, go for it." So we ended up talking on a Skype call about doing some more work with him. And the guy I work for now was on a trip visiting him. And he walked into the room and said, "Oh, it's just a guy who did your end card. Would you want to do some stuff with me?" And I was like, yeah, definitely. It's I'm speaking to these big YouTubers now. This is crazy. So he got me to do, like, I did an intro and outro for him. And then I suggested, I actually also do merchandise for bands. Because a lot of my design work was for bands and stuff. That's how I made the majority of my money. And I said, have you ever thought about doing your own merch line? And he said, I've thought about it, but never done it. Let's do it. So I ended up doing his merch for him, which was cool. And I planted a little seed, if you ever need an editor, I'd love to edit some of your videos. And he said, all right, I'll bear that in mind. And because he did it all himself at that moment in time.
Yeah.
And And then eventually the third guy they recorded with, who was the biggest out of the three of them, asked me to do a bit of graphic work for him too. And I planted the same seed. If you ever need an editor, let me know. And eventually he said, actually, I'm going to start vlogging, like, IRL stuff. Do you want to edit my daily vlogs? Which was right up my alley, obviously, because I'm used to editing my own vlogs. So I was like, yeah, that'd be great. So that instantly gave me a solid income, because at the time I was being a self-employed graphic and web designer, and it was good months, bad months, great months, terrible months. I was still living with my parents. There was no security to it, and then suddenly here we go. I'm now editing a video every single day. I've got security now. I know exactly what I'm bringing in that month, without any design stuff. That's literally just for these edits. So that's great. So I was like, okay, now I can calm down a bit on pushing the design stuff. I don't have to worry so much about that. I'm working for a big YouTuber. This is really exciting. And eventually the guy I work for now was like, I think I'm at a point now where I can afford to get an editor, and if you're still interested. I was like, definitely, that's great. But it was quite a lot of work, and my girlfriend at the time was at university and she hated it and she couldn't get a job. And I said to him, would you be open to my girlfriend editing some videos? And he was like, oh, does she know how to edit? And I lied through my teeth, and I said, yeah. And he's like, yeah, I'll give her a go. So I gave her a crash course that night in how to edit videos. And I said, are you up for it? And she was like, I'll give it a go. And it just started going really well. She found out she didn't have time to do both, and she had to make a decision. And so she dropped out of uni. We've been with him now for 9 years, which is unheard of in YouTube. Like in YouTube, you tend to just go through editors and stuff. And so we started off both editing for him. And then eventually, as we progressed, the editors started getting a bit harder. Like we started having to use After Effects and stuff, which was way more motion graphic-y.
Yeah.
And that was a bit beyond her means. So he's a very clever guy, the guy I work for. And he said to her, your strengths are in organization and stuff, not necessarily the creativity stuff. So I want to move you from editing to basically channel management. So she was in charge of the whole channel. It was up to her to get all the editors working, the thumbnail people working, get the videos uploaded, all the titles, descriptions. She got a lot put on her plate, but it was good because she was feeling a bit overwhelmed with the editing side of it, I think, because like I say, it was 2 videos every day. Like we realized for I think it was a 3-year time period. We worked 7 days a week for 3 years.
Fucking hell, mate.
Yeah, it was pretty intense. But we just thought that's what you have to do in YouTube. You just have to grind. And I feel as much as I look back at it now and think, God, that was crazy. What were you doing? I also think it did us good because it proved loyalty, and the guy we work with is big on loyalty, and we've been looked after because of it.
Yeah.
And I think it was crazy to do it, and we did lose some friends, and because people just didn't understand it.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people. I think if you're not in the creative freelance world, you don't understand the grind, and you just think you need to do a 9 to 5 and that's it, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think if you've got passion, you're willing to go past that. And we did, and it paid off. We've got, touch wood, job security. He's always been fair with us. He's my son's godfather now. So we've got a good relationship, and now, we've now relocated because we've now got an office, which is unheard of in YouTube again. This is a big step, and so now we're in house, and I don't know, it's really exciting. It's just it's interesting where it's taken me. It's like it's so cliche, but I've always said that YouTube literally changed my life because it enabled me instantly when I started working for the original guy. It enabled me to then move in with my girlfriend because I had a solid income.
Yeah.
And then eventually we then, got married, bought a house, had a kid. And this is all because of YouTube, which is just mind blowing. But the butterfly effect, I love the butterfly effect. If I hadn't sent that cheeky tweet, none of this would happen. Yeah,
that's 100% it. And I think when you're self-employed, you are cheekier. Like
100%. I think you need to be.
Yeah, 100%. And you need, with most recently, I got in touch with a studio because they're looking for full-time stylists. So I was like, hey, if you need anyone in the meantime, here's my website. And I got booked.
Brilliant.
So you've got to be, my dad calls it hit and hope, but
I like that.
Yeah, you've just got to give it a bash. And like, what's the worst someone's going to say? Like, no, bugger off.
I couldn't agree more. I spent the majority of my life blagging, and like you say, if you're prepared for the answer to be no, then that's fine. Then why not put yourself out? Because like you've just seen, good things can come from just trying.
Yeah, that's it. And like, also, what, like, you've got absolutely nothing to lose, and like, look at how much your hard work has paid off now. Like, you guys are in an incredible job and just from hard graft. And like you say, some people don't get it. When I was driving from like the town we both grew up in a little bit, all the way over to Leicester and back to go and work for a big company, and I was just putting the graft in 7 days a week, like just kept going, much to my own probably detriment because I was exhausted after, but you know, it puts you in good stead and gives you contacts. I'm still in touch with a lot of those people who I first started freelancing for, you know, like over a decade ago. And I think it's those kind of contacts that you can then call back up. Somebody, one of them actually, he's a good friend of mine and we hadn't spoken for a few years. And then he called me out of the blue and was like, Shara, I've got a job. Like, I need some styling help. Can you come? And I was like, yeah, sure. So I went and stayed in Leicester for like 4 days and just did a job for him. But that wouldn't have come had I not have made those contacts like back in the day, shall we say?
No, I fully agree. I mean, and the interesting thing is like some people, whenever I tell people, when we went on our honeymoon, we went to LA and we get up at 5 a.m. and we'd edit our videos so then we could start our day at like 7 or 8 and actually have a day, you know, so every day on our honeymoon we were working and people are like, what? Yeah. And they're like, would he not give you that time off? And it's like, it's not a case of him giving us that time. YouTube doesn't stop.
Yeah.
You know, if he suddenly stops uploading videos, the algorithm kills him and the channel goes right down the toilet. So, but it's interesting in the fact that, you know, he's not an idiot. He saw us doing that. And like I say, he's rewarded us in the future, and now we've got a much healthier balance now. All of us, including him, because he was working it 7 days a week as well.
Yeah.
But now, yeah, we've all. It's kind of nice. He saw us do the grind, and he was doing the grind with us, and he knew that if he ever needed anything, we'd jump to it. And I think that's definitely rewarded us so far, and I think it's going to continue to reward us because he knows what we've been through to get him to where he is and the channel where he is and where we are and everything.
Yeah, I agree. And to get somebody from 1 million subs to 10 million is no small bloody feat. That's insane.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Another thing that was really sweet, again, this wouldn't have happened normally, but he's again rewarding us, is he knows I've always wanted to be the YouTuber, and he knows I've always wanted that silver play button that you get on the wall, you know, for 100,000 subscribers, and so when we hit 10 million in YouTube, for those who don't know, when you hit milestones, you get plaques. So 100,000 subscribers, you get a silver play button plaque. 1 million, you get a gold play button plaque. 10 million, you get this gorgeous diamond play button. It's stunning, and it comes in its own like briefcase and everything. And when we hit 10 million, he actually pulled strings and got us our own diamond play button, which just doesn't happen in YouTube. So that was like breathtaking because he knew how much that meant to us, because we've always wanted a thing to show. So and it says on the back of it his name, Team, you know, so it is actually literally for us. And it's wild, you know. That's again, that wouldn't have happened had we not been through, because like we've got an incredible relationship with him now, but we went through highs and lows, you know, like, because it was like mass stress all the time, high stress levels, and we've had some rough times with him and come out the other side. And I think it just, with any relationship, that builds something special. And I think again, if you can weather it, you know, it pays off.
Yeah, I think so. And I think it's like small term stress over the long term career, isn't it, really? Because like that level of stress isn't sustainable for long periods of time. Not. But if it's like, you know, with an end goal and you all sound like you're a really good team together. So I think that's just nice then that he recognized how much work you guys had also put in and rewarded you guys with that diamond play button as well, because that's just insane. And
it's mad. Yeah, it's pride of place in the house.
Yeah, don't blame you. That'd be straight on the mantelpiece.
It's very heavy though. Honestly, whenever I show anyone, they pick it up and they're like, wow. I'm like, I know, it's ridiculous.
Oh, I thought the play buttons and stuff were just plastic.
No, not well. The diamond one is legit. It's very heavy.
Oh, crikey.
Yeah, it's very cool though. I love it, but it's hard to keep it clean. That's the only problem. It's a fingerprint magnet.
Yeah. Have you got like a glass box for it yet?
I should get one of those. I haven't yet. Do you know, it's so sad. Before we moved, I actually genuinely discussed the idea of having a recess put in our living room wall with a spotlight in it. So to put it sounds ridiculous now, but like at the time, I was like, that is a great idea.
No, it sounds like a really great idea. And then, it's got pride of place then, isn't it?
There you go. Yeah, it's something to be proud of. But it's funny when you mention it and someone's like, what's a diamond play button? And they don't have a clue. And you're like, oh, okay, never mind.
Yeah. We watch an awful lot of YouTube in this house. So I think I'm aware of what the buttons are, but I didn't realize there was like a diamond one. So that's insane.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's the cool thing about it. I think when I looked it up at the time we got it, I think I looked it up that only... It sounds big, but think how many people in the world there are. There's only 6,000 people that have one.
Really? Only 6,000?
Yeah, which is quite cool. So, yeah, I was just like so grateful for it, and it makes the grind feel worth it because it's funny when you look at, like I say, he's our child's godfather now. We've got such a good relationship with him, but it wasn't always that way, and it was high stress and everything, and so our friends who were obviously there for us when we were really at our like worst and burnt out and stuff, and they I guess they probably saw him as a bit of an ogre, so to speak, because the way you're like, oh, I'm working so hard, and so now when we're such good terms with him and stuff, they're like, really? And like, yeah, he's a good guy. It's just work. But again, we've always said, unless you're in the YouTube world, you'll never fully understand how it works. It's just that's how YouTube works. Not the healthiest, but it's just that's the nature of the beast. And if you want to be in it, that's how it is.
Yeah, that's it. Like we watch one of the I'm not going to mention his name, but there is a YouTuber who has like, I think he must be nearing 10 channels now. And
wow.
It's sometimes he does history, sometimes he does stuff on like buildings, sometimes it's on like people.
Mm-hmm.
And like he's releasing like, I would say a couple of videos a day and across the channels. And you just think, how much work is that? And he's got a podcast and everything else. You're like,
true.
Geez, Louise.
It's interesting. I'd love to see other YouTubers' workflows, because even though you could get to a level that my guy's at and happily have a team who just, you'll just waltz in, you'll do the recording, and then it's all just taken care of.
Yeah.
My guy can't just walk away like that. He's still very heavily involved in everything. And I think, I don't know if you know Mr. Beast. Ever heard of Mr. Beast?
I don't think so.
So he's like massive. I'm intrigued. Let me see how many subscribers he has. But basically, he is a huge YouTuber. He's got, I think it's 140 million subscribers.
Whoa.
Yeah, 140 million subscribers. And he's not like a daily uploader on it, but he does quality videos when he does. But there are videos from other channels that have shown he owns like a warehouse now, which is, he's built a full production facility, and then it's just you'd see it at a TV show or film show and go, yeah, fair enough. But for a YouTube thing to see that much, it's like, wow. Like, I don't think people don't understand that for the bigger YouTubers, it's not just to pick up a vlog camera and film yourself. It's like huge production.
Yeah, I think Nath follows a tech guy who's into like gaming. Is it? I'm going to get his name wrong. Oh, I can't. I can picture his face, but I can't remember his name. And he's similar. He's like, we followed him for a while, and Nath dips in and out of watching his videos, and he's gone from like just producing at home in his garage to having his whole production. It is like a TV studio.
It's wild, isn't it? I mean, like we've recently just started a podcast of our own, and it's funny because a few years back, myself and the guy I work for, I said to him, any interest in doing a podcast together? I'd love to do a podcast. And he was like, well, we could do. So we brainstormed it and we did our own podcast. It was audio only on Spotify, and it went well. Like, people still comment on videos saying like, where has it gone? Like, we want the podcast back. But then he mentioned that one of the guys he records with, which is the guy I told you I tweeted, they had an idea of doing a podcast together, and I was like, what? That I thought we were doing that, and he's like, no, it's fine. You can still have a little bit part on it, being the producer. That's like a character. And I was like, okay, cool. And so we've literally just spent the last month like getting that together. And it's funny, when we were doing our original podcast, it was literally like we're doing here. I was on my mic at my house, he was on his mic at his house, and we just pieced it together. Whereas now this, spent a lot of money, got a lot of equipment, set up a whole set it's straight in the new offices we're in. We've got an office at the end which is huge, and so we're just we'll just set up in here for season 1, and if it does well, we'll get a different space and build a proper set. But it's just wild to think that like everything I've done up to now with him has been very DIY, but that's just because it worked really well for the channel. But now this is like, no, we're going to get really good cameras, really good lighting, really good micro, everything's like big. And again, people watching it, they love it, but they probably don't have a clue what's gone into it. Like, it's been stressful and financially insane.
Yeah, and I think it gives people, when I have people on the podcast chatting like yourself about these big productions, or people working in TV, or, I interviewed somebody who has his own film production company, and he's like, people don't realise how much is going into these advertisement, TikToks, stories, let alone YouTube, TV, everything else. Like, we all know, telly can shut down half of the Northern Quarter in Manchester for a week, but I think people forget that it's not just the actors and actresses on set, and it's not just the YouTuber on set, it's everybody else. It filters out, quite wide.
Oh, for sure. It's crazy. I just think, I don't think I got it until I was involved. I was like, oh wow, okay, you do see, when you're in the industry, you learn a lot about it. Like, some things are true, some things are not. But
yeah,
but it's nice to be part of the illusion.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I understand that as well. Yeah, it's like making stuff look aesthetically pleasing for the viewer, isn't it? Really,
for sure.
Yeah, that's really interesting. It's mad, like how your career has evolved, like from graphic designing and working self-employed to now being employed by like a huge YouTuber. I think it's so cool. It's so cool.
It's really interesting because like I went from being a kid, I was like, I'm going to be a rock star. That is literally what's going to happen. Like, there's no question. I had I was very into Oasis, and their attitude was, we're the best band in the world. It was always going to be that way. So I had that attitude as well. I am going to be, and I gave it such a good go. And got to a certain level, and then was like, I've got to be real. I don't think it's going to go past this unless I spend a lot of money and meet the right people. And I haven't got it in me to do that. I want to settle down with my girlfriend. So I decided, okay, that's fine. I've got my job with YouTube now. So let's see where that goes. And it's interesting because I've always said, like, if you're happy working at Tesco and stacking shelves and all that stuff, that's cool. But for me, like with the band, I always had something to aspire to. I was always like, what's the next big show we're going to do? What's the next record deal we're going to get? That sort of thing. And I always thought, if I don't have a band, my life is going to be so depressing because I've got nothing to aspire to. But then luckily YouTube replaced it. And as much as it wasn't me being the talent, so to speak, it was, this job is exciting, not in the necessarily the daily edits or anything, but like, we've got to do some really cool things. We've got to travel to different countries, with this job and do really cool things that people wouldn't normally do. And these things just keep popping up. And I think that's the thing, you can say, yeah, sure, day to day, there is some, mundaneness to it, but you don't really know what's happening next month. Like this podcast we've just started, which is really exciting, just came out of nowhere. And the month before I'd never heard of it, and then suddenly we're like, let's do it, and boom, we've just done this new production. It's awesome. So it's a very cool job in the fact that I think if I was doing just your normal job, I think I'd probably go a bit stir crazy.
Yeah, I'm similar, even to the point of like being a full-time stylist. Sorry, future employees. I feel trapped.
Right, I get you.
And like, actually, it's nice to have that unexpectedness to oh, what are you going to be on next week? You know, you're booked for something, and you'll get for me, I get like a mood board or pre-production notes or something, and it comes up and I'm like, oh, cool, this is what I'm booked on. But I maybe know like 2 days before.
Wow.
And so it's quite, you know, or it could be something as simple as like going and styling mannequin, which is nice
Do you
and
get
easy.
nervous about it or not?
No, not anymore.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Nave said to me, he was like, you walk into new studios all the time like it's your first day at work, but you've been there 20 years. And I was like, yeah.
Wow.
I literally talk my way in.
Really? No way.
Yeah, I'm just so chatty and just like, well, just myself. And then I just never really feel nervous anymore. I'm like, sometimes I still have imposter syndrome.
Right. Oh, we're all guilty of that.
Yeah. And sometimes I'll look around the room and be like, oh, fuck, am I meant to be here? And then I just kind of, I've got a little saying where I like put my confident cape on.
Oh,
and,
I like
you
that.
know, and then just go like, actually, you can do this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think imposter syndrome's a funny one, but I definitely don't get scared anymore. I'm like, I know I can do it. And if my head's a little bit wobbly, I just have to tell the anxiety to fuck off, really.
No, it's interesting because I like the way you said that you would be given a brief like a couple of days before, and you're kind of going in blind to a degree.
Yeah,
that scared me. So the fact that you're comfortable with that is like, wow, that's quite impressive. I guess if it's what you do though, you're good at it, then you are going to have that confidence, I guess.
Yeah, and I think also like there's a certain fact of like someone's booked you because they know that you can do the job.
Sure.
And also, what's the worst that's going to happen? The client doesn't like it and it has to get reshot. That's
True.
Like it's.
How's that work though? If they don't like, do you still get paid or?
Yeah. It tends to be that like, so you have to get everything signed off, like client approval. And then sometimes when you're on set, sometimes the client's like, oh, can we tweak that? Can we tweak that?
Oh, that's cool.
And then it depends on the agency whether they have to charge an extra day or, you know.
Right.
So yeah, it depends. Like, and often the clients are told by the account managers that, you know, you've got like maybe 10 minutes to okay this image and a couple of amends, and then we've got to move on because we've got maybe like 20 shots or whatever.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I've not really delved into that world, so it's quite cool to hear about it.
Yeah, so it's similar to like you know what Amber's doing, like the production side.
Sure.
A lot of the people I chat to are like production managers, and they kind of organize. They kind of are between account managers, client, and us workforce. Really, I guess, like photographers, stylists, makeup artists, and stuff. So it's their job to organize a workflow, make sure everything's shot in time and stuff. So yeah, it's kind of, there's crossover, I guess, in a way.
Right. That's really cool.
Yeah, it's again similar to you. Like it's a weird job.
Yeah, but I think they're the best.
Yeah, because then people go like, "Oh, what have you done?" And I'm like, "Oh, well, I don't know, dressed some dog in a Christmas jumper today," and like, and then the next day it will be I'm styling some lingerie on a mannequin, or you know. So it's really varied.
No, I think that's important as well. I think the cool thing about what's going on with us right now as well is like I mentioned, we've relocated because we've got a new office now, which is very cool because, you know, it's for years it's been just, I could say with variations here and there, it's been the same day in, day out. But now it's gone from just being, you know, two of us editing, you know, for this guy, and now hold on, we're in an office and we're now building out the office. So we need to employ people and we need someone for this run. It's like it's weird to see something that we've helped grow from base, almost, I say nothing. 1 million subscribers is not nothing, but you know what I mean. From one guy doing it all on his own, we've helped build it to now we're in an office and we're employing people, and it's wild to see something grow, especially something which YouTube, I guess you probably don't think it would ever. You think it's just a bedroom thing. You don't really think it will get to that stage. So it's kind of like, wow, that's cool. Yeah,
that sounds really cool. And do you find it weird now that you've got to employ people?
Very, yeah. It's strange because I've always felt like, I use this term loosely, but the underling, you know, I'm told what to do and I do it. And now I'm kind of telling certain people, you need to be doing this. It's a very odd switch. one that I'm comfortable with, but not fully, because I think I lack the what's the word? The authority. I don't have the authority in me. I'm very, hey, how you getting on today? What are you up to? What are you working on? Whereas I think you sometimes need to be more authoritative, and I don't have that in me necessarily. So.
But I think the nicest bosses I've had have been quite friendly, and I feel like I respect them more than people who are kind of ruling with an iron fist.
It's so funny that I've always said the same as you. So like at school, I always responded really well to a teacher who would praise me and say, great job on that homework. I'd always responded well to that. But then in the YouTube world, at least for the guy I'm with, he's not a praiser, but not in a negative way. Like he's not doing it to be harsh or anything, and I always, at first I resented that. And now I'm like, no, I get it. He was teaching me by being hard on me.
Yeah.
Because being nicey and skirting around any issues doesn't get it fixed efficiently and quickly.
Yeah.
And so now I see it, now that I'm like years down the line, and I see him maybe being with a similar approach with new employees. I'm like, it's so interesting watching now because I know what you're doing and it's working. Like, it's interesting. So it's a fine line. I agree with you. I love employers who are very nice and encouraging and praising, but I also understand. I understand the ones who are sterner, but like my guy who know what they're doing. You do just get some employers who are just arseholes. But
I'm
not talking about them. You don't. I'm not saying anyone who's strict or stern is a good employer. I'm just saying the way my guy did it was really good. It's really clever.
Yeah, I think like there is that fine balance of like, I definitely struggled when I managed a photography studio. I was very young and I wasn't mature enough to manage the personalities in there.
Right.
And I found it really fucking stressful because I was trying to be authoritative, but I was the same age as the guys I was working with. And I think it's difficult to strike that balance of being friendly, but also saying, come on, we need to have a bit of a chat because this is wrong, or like, let's...
It's tough, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really tough. And I think it's a really hard balance because you don't want to be too tough that your employers are like, oh, for fuck's sake, and you knock their morale. But you also don't want to be too friendly that you're like their best mate answering text to them at like 8:30 in the evening. So I think it's that like boundary thing as well, isn't it? And kind of, if some people work better with praise, just a quick thank you works wonders.
Sure.
But also, it's a really difficult balance. It's not one that I've got, I don't think. I'm too blunt.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, you have always been quite blunt, to be fair.
Yeah. I'm very like direct. I'm kind of, my friend said to me, she goes, you're do no harm, but take no shit. And I was like, right. Yeah, that kind of sums me up. Like,
That's interesting. It's another thing you mentioned, which is interesting, was the age thing you just mentioned. That's another thing, is that, so my boss is actually 13 years younger than me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which is interesting because obviously, like, they're very successful, head of this very successful company, and I, it's a weird intro because like he's so clever, and it's just weird knowing when I sit back and go, wow, I am like 13 years older than you, but it doesn't feel like it because you're the boss and you're giving me this great advice all the time, and it's just a weird, I don't know the word, but it's interesting having a boss who's so much younger than you, because you think, like, my mum finds it hilarious, she's, like the fact that my boss is so much younger and he's so successful, and I'm like, it's what it is, mum, it works. But he often makes jokes about my age, which is always fun. So
yeah, it's a funny one because I think some people are just like naturally a bit wiser, a bit more like 100%. Business minded. Like my little sister, when we were younger, was like constantly like, I'm going to get here. And she was very like tunnel visioned with what she wanted in life. And she's got it by like...
I was going to say, did she get there?
Yeah, but she got there at like mid-20s and then went traveling. Was just like, I've done it. And then she was
completed it. I'm off.
Yeah. So I do think different people have different views on it. And also people have different views on success.
True.
You know, because his version of success is different to mine, different to yours, you know. And I think some people are happy with, like you were saying earlier, like some people are happily just working in Tesco, chilling out, and that's it. And some people are striving for loads more. And, you know, like me and Nath, we're quite happy, I'd say, plodding along. We're both successful. We've got a nice house. We've managed to keep a dog for 9 years, 9 years alive. Thanks. It's probably one of my best achievements. And, you know, when you look at it, then you're like, well, actually, success is like being able to go out whenever we want. We can go to a gig. We can, you know, we've got, not everything's materialistic, but, you know, we've got a nice house, got a nice car each, you know, and that's enough for us. But then some people are like, they want to be the absolute best that they can be in their field. And I'm all for it.
I found success, what you think success is, interesting, because I've struggled with it myself. Like, for a long time, I was very materialistic. Like, you know, success to me is having this nice house. You know, it is having this car where people go, "Damn, that's a nice car," and you know, and I try to wonder if there's anything wrong with that. Like I've changed now, like a bit. I'm not gonna lie. I'm still materialistic. I do want to have a nice house, and I like the fact that I now live in a different area, which is a bit more bougie. You know. But the interesting thing is, like, the guy I work for, he's not materialistic at all, and believe me, he very much could be if he wanted to be, and he's not. Yeah. And it blows my mind. He's just got no interest in it. And I just think he thrives on being successful in business. And I'm not talking about financially. I'm just talking about, cool, okay, I've made a success out of this. What project can I make a success out of now? He just likes playing the game and being good at it. And I think it's so interesting. Whereas, you know, other YouTubers I've known and worked with over the years, they've been very materialistic. And but for example, for years, the guy I work with basically didn't spend a penny. And it wasn't just like, oh, I'm rich, I'm going to hold on to my money. It wasn't that. He just didn't want to. Didn't need to buy the Lamborghini. Like, you know, he didn't need it. It always blew my mind, you know, because, like, he didn't care about, you know, how he looked, you know, like, whereas I was like, I want people to see me drive a nice car. I want people to think, damn, he's so well. And, like, you know, I want my old friends from school to be like, what are you up to these days? And like, they look me up online and go, hey, he did all right for himself, you know. And it's like, but is it wrong to think like that, or is it okay? I just don't know. I still struggle with it.
I don't think it's wrong to think like that, because I think, like we were just saying, everyone measures success in different ways, but also it's where you feel the most comfortable is probably where you get success from, if I'm making sense. So, like, me and Nathan, like, comfortable with our lives. A lot of people don't understand, you know, don't understand why me and Nath don't want, like, why don't you want an employee, Shah? Why don't you want an agency? Nath, why don't you want to be a manager? You know, why don't you want more? Mm-hmm. And then, you know, bless him, he's a lorry driver now. And people are like, oh, well, he must be out of the house loads. He's out of the house probably similar times to what he was when he was working for BT and stuff. But our success is just that we're both incredibly happy, and we're happy with.
That's all you can ask for, isn't it?
Yeah, and, like, you know, we support each other. We, like, support each other in a multitude of ways, and I think, like, it's just, that's the thing that's success in my eyes. I don't necessarily want, like, the bougie car, or, you know, I've got a nice car.
I was gonna say, you've got it though.
Yeah, but I mean, I've also scraped the bumper a couple of times.
No.
Yeah, as someone else scraped my bumper, which was not nice. And I keep my cars till they're dead. Like, you know, I don't know whether it's, my dad was very driven by success being quite materialistic, I guess.
Right.
But then also, I think growing up in a small town, it's different to being living in a city where people don't really
I think
care.
that's it, because I actually grew up in London, and I did grow up in a nice house, and
Yeah.
so I think that's probably where it stems from for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I think it's changed a bit for me since I moved. Like when where we used to live, we were quite closed off. Like we had one couple who were like our best friends who lived like half an hour down the road, and that was basically it. We didn't have anyone else around, no family, no friends, basically. So when we moved down here, we've now got the guy I work for. Like we get to see him every day now, and his family, who we get on so well with. We see them a lot. Like we go for weekly walks with them, and it's just
nice.
And that's such a nice. I think that's something that was missing.
Yeah.
I feel there's a lot more to do here now, and like we actually we get to spend time with people that we really care about, and we feel really part of the family type thing, which is and I think that is a nice missing part of that success that I needed.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I completely get what you mean. Like I think that's why I was probably more materialistic back where we used to live, because that's all I had.
Yeah.
But now it's like, cool, I've got actually people who want to spend time with us, and it's lovely. It gives you that like just a really nice happy feeling, and that's all you really want, happiness, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. And I think also referring back to people looking you up on social media and stuff, I think we, especially from school era, people want to kind of flaunt off their best parts on social media, don't they? And especially to people who you've not seen in, I don't know, 20 years, or like maybe you're still mates with them, and then they're like, oh, well, you're doing really well for yourself. But people forget to ask if you're happy.
Oh, they never ask that.
Yeah. And actually, like, I will always talk about work, but because I'm happy, I enjoy my work. But I do think it's nice to ask people, like, are you happy?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. It's a deep one, and yeah, I feel like I should ask that more often, because that's a cool question.
Yeah, it's a nice, like, it's just a nice question, because sometimes people will be like, oh yeah, works this, works that, and actually we've got so many layers and so many facets to ourselves that maybe you only show one facet at work and you show another facet of yourself to, maybe facets is the wrong word, but like you've got different versions of yourself that you show around. And so some people might see you as the, I don't know, probably for me, the super chatty stylist who doesn't shut up. And then I come home and maybe I'm a bit quiet. And, and if someone was like at work, like, are you happy? I'd be like, oh yeah, I think I am. Or like, if I'm having a bit of a like quieter day, I'd be like, yeah, maybe not today. But I think happiness is kind of forgotten about, especially if people are flaunting materialistic things. I think, it is, it's not something I'm particularly interested in, but, like I say, I'd buy a decent car when my old one's dead.
Yeah.
And then
it is interesting that the happiness thing. It's something that I find. I don't know if it's a sign of the times or just something that comes with age. But like when we first knew each other, like 20 years ago, I never really thought about it. I was just happy.
Yeah.
I had a good life. I never thought of anxiety. I never thought of depression. I never thought of anything.
Yeah.
And now I don't know if it is social media, like just it being more, people being more aware of it. But wow, man, especially over the pandemic, that like, that's so cliche to say, but that really like did a number. Like I noticed, I think one thing that did it for me with the pandemic was, I noticed a lot of toxicity in people. It's funny, it first happens, and like, everyone like is together, and we're, and the NHS is so great, and let's clap for the NHS, and then you start to say, oh, hold on, like John across the road is now having a little party, and he's not supposed to be having a party because we're in lockdown, and you start seeing all the selfishness and the realness in people, and it's like, wow, and I think it really soured my view on humanity, really, and ever since then I'm like very conscious of happiness and the lack of from time to time.
Yeah, I agree with you. We had some knobheads live 2 doors down, and I think it definitely, these are parts of people that, again, you wouldn't have seen that side of people had there not have been a pandemic, because you wouldn't have thought of anything of them having a party yet, because some people are sticklers for rules.
Oh, I am a bit of a stickler for a rule.
Yeah, I like my boundaries and I like my rules, but
sure.
It was a difficult time. Like, were you guys working all the way through?
Yeah.
Oh God.
But equally, I did say to people, like, if we weren't working, I think I would have gone stir crazy. I would have got so bored.
Yeah, mate. I was so thankful we had an allotment.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Because like
that.
all the studios just went quiet. And then the studio I was in for quite a bit said, do you want to come in? And I kind of, looking back now, I wish I'd gone in, but
Right.
I didn't because I was asthmatic, because I'm asthmatic. So I was like,
oh.
And we didn't know how it's going to play out, right? So, yeah, I mean, the allotment saved my bacon, to be honest.
That's great. Well, I suppose it's probably quite therapeutic as well, just being able to just get to a lot of energy thing.
Yeah, and it was full of like old people who treat the allotment like their work. So there was a lot of gossip and stuff going on, and it was quite like, it was kind of, it was all right actually. Yeah, it just absolutely saved me, and it was such a nice summer that summer as well. So it was like able to get in the garden and stuff. But I definitely the same as you. Like I saw some of the worst in humanity and some of the best in humanity there.
Oh yeah, you did see both, to be
fair. Yeah, but it just like, I think it's where some parts of social media became so toxic and so horrid, and I think people forget sometimes that social media, like you put stuff on your social media, if you delete it, it's still somewhere in the cloud.
And the minute anything goes on the internet, you're screwed. It's up there for life. But it's interesting, like the social media thing, I guess that goes back to success as well. I mean, like you look at, I think a lot of people gauge success from social media, like Instagram, you look at all these people and go, oh my gosh, like what a life. And that's not real. Like, working in YouTube, I know a lot of stuff you see online is fake. But I think that's done a huge thing against mental health, is people gauging their lives compared to others, and the others are not being real. And I think it also again brings more toxicity. So I'm sitting there and I'm I'll be jealous because I've seen so and so on Instagram and look, they're having such a great time. Look at that new place. It's like, it's not real, man. Don't just get away from it. And which I unfortunately can't do in the job I'm in. I have to be on social media, but like, I just like the thought sometimes, honestly, the thought of just being in a like a lovely cottage in the countryside with no internet and just sitting there with the sun and that'd be amazing, just get away from everything.
Yeah. And definitely that feeling of jealousy, I've definitely had that recently where I saw someone's social media and they were doing something cool at work and I like went in on myself and was like, oh my God, I don't do anything cool. I've done some fucking awesome stuff.
Yeah, right.
I just forgot in that moment. And I was like, I wish I was in their shoes. Like, I don't really, because great that they're doing something great. But like, I think you're right with social media as well. That's why like I'm trying on my personal one anyway, and a little bit on my podcast one, is to just be a bit more myself, because I think there's a lot of people who go like, oh, it's great for you guys, you've got a new kitchen. Well, yeah, because the old one was shit, but what they forget is that like we've had to work hard to get it.
Yep.
And also peeling back someone's DIY is never fun, because you end up with 60 million different things that go wrong, cost you more money. But it's also like not about like the short term like endorphins of getting a new kitchen, shall we say. It's like that is going to last us 20 years, because I'm going to damn well make sure it lasts us 20 years.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah.
But like, putting it on social media, and then like I've just been putting stuff like the DIY on there, and just being myself, and like if I'm having an endo flare up, but trying to kind of not post too much, because I don't think that's healthy either. There's a balance there, isn't there?
Well, it's interesting because like when our son was born, we decided to we had this like joint Instagram account which my wife basically ran, but we decided like, let's just be real, man, because we had a bit of a rough start, and we were like, we could do the Instagram thing, we should, because we were like, and originally we were like, sweet, now we can do a family account, like, and we could get big on Instagram and stuff, but we were also like let's just be real. No one's ever real, and we're going through a tough time right now. Let's talk about it. And people loved it. Like people were like, it's so cool that you're like being so real and honest about it. But then eventually, like, I felt like it was becoming like, why are we doing this? Originally we were doing it because it was kind of therapy for us. Yeah. But then eventually it kind of felt like, no, we're just doing this now because we need to keep the Instagram account live. And it's like, nah, that's not how I want to live. Well, it's funny because like back in the day, like for example, on this new podcast we're doing, they said to me, would you think about being a guest on it? If we need someone to fit, if we can't get a guest booked in time. And I was like, not like 5 years ago, I would have pounced. I would have been like, yes, get me on that camera. I'm going to be on this huge channel with all these big YouTubers. Oh, definitely. But now I'm like, I mean, if you need me, I'll do it. But I'm not. I don't really want to. And it's so interesting how like priorities and just interests change. Like again, like with that Instagram now, we've now privated that.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you know, so the people that we know on it can still see what we do. But it just, I think a lot of people care too much about trying to be the next thing and trying to make it. And like, if that's what you want to do, that's awesome. But it's really hard to do that nowadays.
Yeah, it's not like the days. There's two ex-stylists of mine that I say mine like I own them,
Right.
but they worked for me back over a decade ago, and they both now have their own like influencer things going on.
Right.
But they started it a decade ago.
Wow.
You know, and they were writing, they were doing blogs, they were doing fashion bits, they were like doing it alongside styling.
For it.
Yeah, really fucking grafting.
Yeah.
And now they've got like, I don't know, 250,000 subscribers each or whatever, and or followers. Yeah. And like, it's insane. But then like I'm seeing one of them's got 2 babies, a dog, and I'm like, this is so much like you're giving away quite a lot.
Yeah.
And there's people I know, like my sister doesn't post her little one over social media. He's not on social media.
Yeah.
I think a few friends are like that, and then other friends are like, well, we're private like yourselves, and it's for family and friends to see, catch up on, and you know, it's easier to mass send out an Instagram post than text 20 different people with pictures or whatever.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we were very conflicted with our YouTube channel because when we had our son, we said, right, let's start a new, fresh YouTube channel. Because my YouTube channel had a lot of followers because of who I work for, so they weren't real followers.
Yeah.
So we're like, let's start a brand new channel, so it's completely organic, and they'd be like a family channel. It'd be really nice, and it just got blurred about why we were doing it. You know, were we doing it like Amber wanted to have memories online so we could go back, and that's awesome. So did I. That's great. But I also was like, if we're doing this, let's try and get big.
Yeah.
And then it's like, if you're gonna get big, I said to the guy, would you maybe mentor us a bit, like help us? And he's like, yeah, but if you want to get big, you're gonna have to upload regularly.
Yeah.
And put the work in. And I was like, I don't know if I've got it in me to do that. And also, you know, I'm working every day. I can't, it's not like I'm at Disneyland every day filming these videos that some people do. And I'm just like, I think I just eventually just said to myself, look, you're doing it for the wrong reason. If you want to do it for what Amber wants to do. Create the memories. Yeah. You don't have to be, and again, like, this sounds so pathetic, but Amber privating that Instagram account was a big deal.
Yeah.
You know, because she'd been working at that for a long time. But then we were just like, look, we don't know who's looking at her, because that account is basically our kid.
Yeah.
And she's like, we don't know who's looking at our kid.
Yeah.
And that's a bit weird. It's
a bit weird because years ago you'd be like, here's my pictures from my holiday, and you'd take a photo album round to your nana's.
Sure.
And now it's like, here's some pictures of my holiday, it's on Instagram. But like Amber, I like having random pictures on my Instagram, on my personal one anyway, to kind of, I flick back and I'm like, oh God, yeah, I remember that, because I'm such a visual person.
Right.
And I'm looking at them and it's just jogging my memories. So it's a bit like a photo album for me.
I know what you mean. Yeah, I think like, I even think Amber actually wants to like start shooting some stuff in film, just because like my mum brought around bags of these old photos from when I was a kid, because I've got this like negative scanner, and like it's so sick to see all these photos from like the 80s and 90s and stuff of like me as a kid. I'm like, man, we need this. Amber's like, I need to start shooting some film stuff and have some, because she said it's like, because we both love photography, she's like, it's such a shame that like we don't have anything physical to hold to look at these. They're all on your iPhone or your DSLR, and it's like, that is a shame. You know?
Yeah, my younger cousin who's 18. Oh shit, the bed, she's 18. Where's that time gone? And she was saying like, there's loads of pictures of us older cousins, and we're all like, go from my age like 35 down to about 26, 27, maybe a little bit younger. And she's like, there's loads of physical pictures of you guys, but there's nothing of me, because it started being digital, right? So people just stopped printing stuff out. Yeah. And she's like, where am I? And we're like, sorry, hun.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah. So my gran has like printed loads out, and there's pictures out and everyone fights over who's on the top shelf of the mantelpiece and stuff.
Got you.
Yeah, she said that maybe like 3 or 4 years ago, and we were like, whoa, actually, yeah.
Man, that's really sad.
Yeah. And like, I really love having pictures around the house. I've got some in the attic room as well of just like nice memories. And I just love having a physical picture. But
yeah,
it's incredible what digital photography's done, because I remember film when I was younger.
Yeah.
But yeah, having that something physical to hold, it's just...
It is cool.
Yeah.
But going back to, I think I've realized that I've got a good job supporting someone who's big. I don't need to be big. My family doesn't need to be big. I can just enjoy my life with my family. Do you know what I mean? Which it took me years to understand that.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I've always wanted to be the talent, the star, whatever. And but I think just recently, I'm just like, especially now, I suppose now that having a kid, I'm just like, I don't need anything else. You know, it sounds so like intense, but you know, like I'm happy. Like I don't need to flex it or try and get big from it. Just enjoy yourself.
Yeah. And I think that's where we lose it a little bit sometimes as well, is like I don't know about yourself, but I do like a gratitude diary every day.
Oh, nice.
Just because depression got a bit of a hold. And I was like, do you know what? I just need to like look at the little things every day. Like I've had a nice walk with the dog, or seen the sunrise or whatever. And doing that has made me just realize, like, the same as you, like, I don't need anything big. I just need like, if you always focusing on the big stuff, you're missing all these tiny little things that happen in every day, that the joys of life.
Yeah.
Like,
100%.
You know, seeing the sunset, you know, having, I don't know, a nice coffee, or just the little tiny joys. And that's the whole part of the bigger picture, isn't it? Because like, I imagine when you're ready to go, you must think, I mean, I'm no expert, but you must think like it must be all the little things that build up to a nice picture of your life.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. I mean, we every night before we go to bed, we say to each other, what are you grateful for? And you got to say one thing you're grateful for.
Yeah.
And it's awesome. Like you say, it makes you, like you say, appreciate the smaller stuff. And like, you know, I'll be driving in the new area we live in, and sometimes you'll just see a view which is just stunning, and I'm just like, man, I'm so grateful for that. And I think recently in the last year or two, I've definitely become more grateful for things I have. Like, for example, like the nice car I've got. I don't walk around the corner now and go, oh, she's beautiful. I come around the corner and say to myself, I'm so grateful I have that.
Yeah.
Because I don't take it for granted. And yeah, we've worked our asses off, but we're still very lucky to be in the position we're in.
Yeah. And I think, especially if you've been freelance before, self-employed, you appreciate everything because you know full well that in an instant your reputation can just be poof and gone.
Yeah. Yeah, it's scary.
Yeah. And I think like just being grateful for stuff that you have, and even just having like being grateful for a few days work a week or whatever, you know, it's...
Oh yeah, for sure.
It realigns you a little bit, actually, I think.
Yeah, I agree. And I think like the thing that you need to realize is that as long as you don't have to worry about money, you're golden. Like there's so many people out there who are like, how the hell am I going to pay my bill next month? Or like, how am I going to get food in the house this week? And like, I never think about that. And but you take that for granted. It's mad. Whereas like, you know, you circle back to where we started on this episode, and I talk about, you know, like, oh, I want this and I want that, and it's like, as long as I don't have to stress about money, that is great.
Yeah, and I think that's like a good sign of a good marker of success as well. Is
for sure.
Like you say, not stressing about money, not like, it's such a privileged position to be in, despite working incredibly hard for getting where you are. Like, it's a privilege to be able to stay in that position as well.
It's so interesting. Someone that was close to us a few years back said to us, because this is in the height of our work, we were really working, and the whole point, we were working so we could get our first house. We wanted to buy our first house together, and it was going to be like 4-bed detached, like it was awesome. And she said, I can't remember verbatim what she said, but it's basically like, you're going to be all alone in your palace, because you're working so hard and you're not going to have any friends left after it. And it was like, wow. Like at the time we were like, wow, that's a bit harsh. And now I sit back and I'm like, she wasn't being harsh. She was just worried
Yeah.
about us, and
Yeah.
like because she saw firsthand what we were going through work wise, and she was just worried. She was like, she was basically trying to tell us, you need to get a handle on it. It's not healthy how you're working, and she was right, and everyone else who said it was right. But I don't regret any of it.
Yeah, and I think it's like we were saying earlier. It's that short-term pain. What's the saying? Short-term pain for long-term gain. Is that the saying?
Yeah, that works.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know if that's a thing, but it works. Yeah.
But some people, rightly so, when they're worried about you, like, they're right to speak up. But I think sometimes the wording can shock you and you're like, what?
Yeah.
And then some people shrug it off, or some people are like, oh, fucking hell, and it knocks them a bit.
Yeah, it's interesting. We used to love watching a show called Rich House, Poor House. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but
Sure.
It's basically they get a rich family and a poor family, and they get them to swap houses for a week. And so the poor family can see how the rich people live, and the rich people can see how the poor family. It's really interesting. But the thing that cropped up a lot was the kids saying, "Oh, the rich family, oh yeah, it's really nice having us, but I never see my dad.
Yeah,
or, he's always working." And I'm so glad that we managed to get a good balance in before we had a child, because that would I'd probably have to reevaluate my job if we hadn't, because like being a parent, you just like, man, I wouldn't. If you paid me loads of money, I wouldn't do it to not see my kid. I've got to see my kid. So I'm really glad that it is definitely worth getting a balance. But if you feel like you need to not have a balance for a while to get ahead, proof's in the pudding. It worked for me. So
yeah, and I think work-life balance, I imagine as well, especially when you've got a little one, is so important. Because I can hark back to my dad working 7 days a week and having 1 week off a year.
Wow.
And then as a teenager, my dad slowed down a little bit because he'd worked his fucking arse off.
Yeah.
And then people were like, well, it's all right for you. You're born with a, I don't know, silver spoon.
Really?
And you're like, hold on a minute. My dad only took 1 week off a year, and it's worked for him because he is where he is. They've, we had a nice life as kids, but to what sacrifice, and I wonder if I should probably ask him, but if he feels like he missed out from us being growing up, because, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's probably a pain in the arse to have two girls kicking around all the time. But I mean, it must have been so hard for him to think, right, well, I've got to go to work because I've got to make sure the girls have got food, water, clothes, love and everything else. And, it showed us hard work, but also it showed me and my sister that there's a work-life balance to be had.
It's true. I mean, my mum, she was a opera singer, and she was like, she sang all around the world and stuff, and like, so she did spend time away from us. Don't get me wrong, I don't have any lasting scarring or anything from being away, but like, she really struggled with that because she was very much one of these "I have to be with my kids" thing. And I know, like, she did turn down some pretty big jobs because she was like, that's going to take me away for too long.
Yeah.
But we still had, just like you, we had the nice life and had a great upbringing, and I think even though she, like I say, she turned down stuff to still be with us, I still think she regrets how much time she was away, which is interesting because I don't feel like it wasn't that much time away, but she does, and I don't know. I think, but she knows that I think she gave us an amazing childhood. So again, the balance is, I feel like she had it, but I don't think she felt she had it. Yeah,
and isn't it interesting how I think that people, women probably especially, are told, and especially our generation, are told you can have it all. You can have the career, you can have kids, you can keep a house, you can do everything. And I hate to say it, there's not enough time to do everything without the support of your partner, your family, your friends. It's lovely to have the choice to do it all, but if there's something has to be sacrificed.
Oh, every time.
Yeah.
There's no way you can do it all.
No, and it's like, it's difficult to find. It must be incredibly difficult to find the work-life balance when you've got a kid as well, or like a family, and you're stressing about where your next job is, or like with your mum, like, do I take this job and it be amazing for my career, but then potentially be away from my kids and husband for longer?
Yeah.
Or do I not take it and have that family time?
It's so tough, isn't it?
Yeah. Because
and again, though, but I guess that it all depends where you sit.
Yeah.
On the, do we have enough money for me to turn it down? Like, I guess it's where your priorities are. Like, potentially, I would maybe think, well, if I took that job, could I maybe take the kids on holiday? Where do you? It's interesting how you look at it. Or if it doesn't matter the sacrifice of the job, I just want to be with my kids, so I'm going to turn it down.
Yeah, it's a really like tough one. I know friends of mine who are in the creative industry as well. Not necessarily struggling with work-life balance, but they're like, oh shit, I'm self-employed, like where's the next payday coming? Can I work for 6 months at the sacrifice of Litland being in nursery solidly, and then doing long hours? And
100%, yeah.
But then also I think it's important for kids to see that hard work does pay off as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's interesting because I don't think as a kid I appreciated it. I don't think I understood it. But now I look back and go, yeah, she worked her ass off, and so did my dad. But as a kid, you just think, yeah, that's what they do. That's their jobs, and then we get to live in this house. It's great.
Yeah. Yeah. We were the same. We'd be like, oh, Dad's at work again, or he'd be working, I don't know, in Milton Keynes, or like further afield, and Mum would be like at work as well, and then Mum would be doing like 2 jobs, and you're just like, they worked so hard to get the life that they have now and that we had as kids. And I think it's you understand the sacrifice when you're older. But
yeah, I totally agree with that.
When you're a teenager, you're like, kicking off.
You don't understand it.
No, you don't understand it. Even to a point, probably in my 20s, probably didn't understand it fully.
I agree with that. Yeah. It's but I think it's a nice thing as well, because now I look back at the childhood they gave me and their work ethic, and I aspire to be like them, as cringy as that sounds. I know they gave me a great life, so I want to do the same thing for my kid.
Yeah, I see that. I'm like the same, but with in the auntie role, where I'm like,
nice. Yeah.
What, let's make sure the nephews get like little treats sent, and
nice.
And friends' kids are treat like little nieces and nephews as well.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, we're the crazy ones.
Love it.
Yeah, one of my friends sent me a video. Their little girl had drawn on her stomach in Sharpie, and then she'd like sent me a little video and was like, show Charlotte what you've got on your tummy. What is it? And she was like, it's a tattoo. And I was like, oh yeah.
That's so funny. Love that.
Influencing her at 2.5.
Yeah, right.
Like, yes, I'm done. I've part of my
Job
work
done
here. But yeah, it's so cool to see like our nephews grow up, and like our mates' kids and stuff. And
for sure.
Oh, it's insane. How old's your little one now?
He's 2 now, so he's just literally hit the terrible 2s this last weekend. He's been an absolute nightmare. But apart from that, he's golden. He's pretty wicked.
Yeah,
and it's so different. Like, you really can't explain it until you've had one. It's like you just can't be selfish anymore. Like, it sucks in that respect, but it's great in other respects. But yeah, it is. It basically life is now work, kid, sleep.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Friends have said this.
Fine. Yeah, it's intense.
Yeah, it's like, I love babysitting the kids, but
oh really?
I also love giving them back.
Sure. Yeah,
covered in bourbon chocolates, fed them like chicken nuggets, and
yeah, the dream.
Yeah, but it's like it's lovely. We're like, when I've read stories for my sister's kid, and he's like got the biggest grin on his face, and he's like super happy, nice. And it's those little moments are just so precious. I'm literally like to all of them, like, take all my money, have whatever you want. You want something, come ask me, because it's a definite yes.
I love it.
Yeah, they're just too cute. Cute. Oh, they're absolutely adorable. Well, thank you so much for chatting to me tonight.
Thanks for having me.
It has been such a nice catch up.
Yeah, it's been great, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been lush. And it's been nice to kind of hear about your YouTube story and how you got into it and stuff. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's been an interesting one. I'll have to catch up in another 20 years and tell you what I'm up to.
Yeah, hopefully it's not another 20 years.
Well, no, probably not. No.
Well, thanks so much, mate. And
Cool. Thanks so
cheers
much.
for coming on. Thank you for listening to this week's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Please rate, follow, and share, as it really helps this little podcast out. And if you have found value in the podcast and you have the means to, I do have a Buy Me a Coffee link in the show notes. This will help keep the podcast going. Join me next week for another fantastic guest. Bye!